So in today's episode, we're going to take a look at online statuses using Turbo. So we have this list of users here, and currently they all say never signed in. We can go ahead here and sign in, and there's no password on this app, which is obviously a bit insecure, but it's just for a demo. So you can pick a username, so say Paul. Let's hit sign in, and as you can see, nothing's happened. And even if we go over here and reload, it still says never signed in. So we are going to take a look through the code. So we've got a users controller that just grabs all the current users and lists them out. We've got our index page, which then loops through this collection of users and renders a user partial for each of them. It checks, is the user online, and if so, shows online now. Else, if they have a last online at date and then says last seen 3 minutes ago or something like that. Otherwise, it defaults to never signed in. So if I pull up the DB schema, you'll see we have a users table, we have a username, then we have a status which defaults to offline and can be set to online, and then we have our last online at field. So our user model then has an online method that just checks if the status is online or offline, basically if the status is not online. And then we have all our code, so like our sessions controller for actually signing in, which just sets an encrypted cookie with the user's ID or deletes that when they sign out. We want to use action cable for this, and we want to use Turbo. So the first thing that you'll want to do in your app, I've set up a fresh Rails 7 app using Hotwire and ES build. So you'll want to come in here and run yarn add action cable, just to make sure that's installed, because it wasn't set up initially in my fresh Rails 7 app. Once you've done that, then we can basically create a channel that overrides Turbo's channel. So rather than using action cable in some places and Turbo in others, if we go in here and hit new file, and we can call this online channel.rb, and I'll paste in some code here. So this basically inherits from the Turbo Streams channel, the default, and when a user subscribes to that, as in when the WebSocket opens, we can then go to our current user. I'll show you how we're looking up current user in a second. And we can update their status to online, and we can see if they're last online at timestamp. And then on unsubscribed, basically update their status to offline. And these two things will just basically happen as part of Turbo. So our application cable connection then is where we set current user. So we had to add this line identified by current user, and then this find verified user method. So this is where we look up in our database by ID using our encrypted cookie and basically return that as the verified user. If they're not logged in, you can either reject the connection and stop the WebSocket from loading, or in this case, we just return a current user of nil so that the logged out user can still access action cable. So that is the first part to what we do. And if I simply save this, I don't think it's going to do anything because we currently aren't using any Turbo Streams in our app. So we're not getting any cable connections here, whether we're signed out or signed in. So to do that, we need to go and add a Turbo Stream from to our application layout. So if we go to application, and we'll just add this tag at the top of body. So we're going to call the stream online users, and this is where we can pass in this online channel, which basically overrides Turbo's default. So we can save that. So now if we reload this, that works. We also get our cable connection here as well. And then if I go back here and hit reload, we don't see anything because no one's signed in. But if I go sign in as Paul, hit sign in, go back, reload, we now see Paul's online. And if I reload here as well, Paul's online. So this is good. If I hit log out now, we go back here, last seen less than a minute ago. So we know this code's running and just working as part of our application, which is good. The next phase then is to make our user model live. So we're going to come into our user model and we're going to paste this in, which basically says after any updates on this model, broadcast a replace to online users. So that's the Turbo Stream channel we subscribe to. How this is going to work by convention is it's going to look for a users underscore user partial to load up. So this is what it's going to load up. It's going to then look for one with a DOM ID of user, which basically looks like user underscore 2, for instance, and it's just going to replace the HTML for us with this one. So if we go back here and we'll reload this, come in here and hit sign in as Amy, hit sign in, and you can see instantly this was updated in both places. So that's great, working well. If we hit log out, instantly that's updated as well. So that in essence is how we do the online status with Turbo. As you can see, it is super simple with Turbo because we can do our Turbo broadcasts and Turbo streams. So that does away with a lot of the code you would write yourself as part of just doing this with normal action cable. And then also it's quite nice that we can just override the Turbo channel and just add our own custom hooks into that. So we don't need to write any real custom action cable code. Everything is part of Turbo. The one last thing that would kind of make this a little bit better is to just make the user model active on creates and destroys as well. So if we save this, on creates we need a target, so we say online users, and we'll need to go into our index view and just give an ID here of online users and hit save. So now we can come in and run user.last.destroy. We'll do a couple of those. That works well. And then we can do like a user.create username Alice. And as you can see, Alice gets added right to the top there. So that is working well. And that's how we add interactivity, real-time stuff to Turbo apps. Hope that was helpful. If you like this content and want to see more like it, please subscribe. And if you have any content ideas, let me know in the comments below.